All right, welcome back to ABA exam review and the continuation of our RBT practice question series. We're going through another set of questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack. When you pass your exam, please let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. A team of 3 behavior technicians all collect data on their clients' aggressive behaviors. They collect this data over several weeks and now need to graph it so that they can be presented to the client. The graph needs to indicate trends and variability. What type of graph or chart should be used? All right, so we have a pretty straightforward graphing question to start. And if you know what the most common graph is in ABA, it makes it even simpler. As an RBT, a behavior technician, you're really going to be using a line graph 99% of the time. You may use a scatter plot. You probably will rarely, if ever, use a bar graph or a pie chart. So if you're looking for some sort of graph where we want to graph this aggressive behavior data we've taken, and specifically we want to see trends and variability, what type of graph are we going to use? Well, we're not going to use a bar graph or a pie chart. Those are not going to show our trends. And if you remember, a trend is the direction the data path is moving. So if we have a data path like this, that's an upward trend. That line graph is going to show our trends. So our answer is going to be C. We're looking at a line graph. A scatter plot is often used to find associations, for example, between behaviors and times of day. But if we're looking for trends, we're looking for the variability of the data, then as a technician, you're very likely going to be using C, a line graph. Emily flaps her hands when excited and is now flapping her hands randomly throughout the day. You're asked to use a clicker counter to record each time Emily flaps her hands anytime it happens during your session. What type of data collection are you engaging in? So we have a data collection question, so a measurement question. What type of measurement are we using? What are we trying to accomplish? What's our goal? Anytime we think measurement, we're trying to think, what are we measuring and why? This time we are measuring Emily flapping her hands, and the hand flapping happens randomly throughout the day. So you're going to use a clicker counter to record each time Emily flaps her hands, anytime it happens. That's the two keys there. One, you're going to use a clicker counter to record each time Emily flaps her hands. So if you're going to use a counter to count each time it happens, what type of data collection is that? Well, if you're using a count, you are using a frequency measurement. Number 2, you're going to do it anytime it happens during your session. So if you have a 4-hour session, you're going to record hand flapping for 4 hours. Now, would that be continuous measurement or discontinuous measurement? Well, that's going to be continuous measurement. Continuous measurement happens throughout the entire day, or in your case, your entire session. So let's look at A. Are we using frequency data collection? We are. We're using a counter to record every time a behavior happens. We're counting how many times it happens. We are using frequency data collection. Are we using B, continuous measurement? We are. With continuous measurement, we are taking data constantly or continuously throughout the session or the day or whatever time frame we're looking at. If we look at C, discontinuous measurement has to do with interval recording and time sampling. We're not using interval recording. We're not using time sampling. We're using a frequency count to record hand flapping, and we're continuously measuring that frequency count throughout your session. So your answer here is D, both A and B. This question is a good example of why you read every answer choice, because A, although it was correct, if you would have stopped at A, you're going to miss the question because B was also correct. We're looking for the best answer, the most complete answer. We have to read every single answer choice every time. You're watching your supervisor break down the skill of brushing teeth into the following steps. Pick up toothbrush, apply toothpaste, brush all teeth for 2 minutes, rinse, put toothbrush back. What is your supervisor doing? Now, so we're looking at the supervisor's behavior, and the supervisor is breaking down the skill of brushing teeth. And when we break down a skill, and you'll learn this as you assist on different task analyses and task chains and that sort of thing. When we break down a skill, we're breaking it down to the needs of the client. So you might look at this question and think, well, that's not how I would teach brushing teeth. That's not important because that's not what the question is asking. Remember, you're answering what the question is asking, nothing more. So if the supervisor is looking at brushing teeth and has the following steps: pick up toothbrush, toothpaste, brush, rinse, toothbrush back, what has the supervisor done? We're not worried about the steps. We're just worried about what the supervisor do to get those steps. A task analysis. Yes, the task analysis is the first step in teaching a behavior chain. With the task analysis, we're going to take a skill and break it into steps. And when you take that skill and break it down into steps, that allows you to teach that skill using a task chain. So if you look at B, task chaining, that's going to be our teaching method, our intervention. So the task analysis comes first. We break down our skill into steps, and then we teach that skill using a task chain. Understand that order of operations. C, shaping. We're not shaping yet. Again, the supervisor has simply broken this skill down. They haven't done any teaching, no chaining, no shaping. And then D, an environmental assessment. So be careful. With an environmental assessment, we're looking at everything going on in the environment. This might be the supervisor going into the client's room or bathroom and looking around and seeing what might be useful to teach, what might hinder teaching. But we're looking specifically at the skill and breaking that specific skill down into steps. And so by doing that, the supervisor has conducted a task analysis. A behavior technician works with a client who often interrupts others when working in a group setting. The behavior technician is told to implement a differential reinforcement of other behavior strategy and use praise and tokens as reinforcement. What is the likely objective of the DRO procedure? Now, we're looking at a DRO procedure, which is a differential reinforcement of other behavior intervention. With differential reinforcement, we are reinforcing something, putting other things on extinction. With the differential reinforcement of other behavior procedure, what are we reinforcing? We're reinforcing for the absence of a behavior. So we're reinforcing when a behavior is not occurring. And so that's a little different than our other differential reinforcement procedures. With the DRO, we don't want a behavior to occur. So in this case, we have a client who interrupts others in working with the group, and that's what we're trying to change. When would you reinforce with praise and tokens if our target behavior is interrupting other with the DRO? A, would you use the DRO to increase the replacement behavior for interrupting? No, a DRO does not teach a replacement, because the only time we're going to reinforce using a differential reinforcement of other behavior is when the target behavior doesn't occur. We're not too worried about what's happening instead. B, to decrease the interrupting behavior. Yes, the goal is to start reinforcing other things, right? We're not specifically picking replacement behaviors, but we are reinforcing when other behaviors happen besides our target, which in this case is interruption. C, to both increase the replacement behavior and decrease the interrupting. If we wanted C, we'd much more likely use some sort of DRA or DRI, an alternative or incompatible intervention. But here we're just using a DRO to decrease that interruption. And then D, to provide non-contingent reinforcement to the client. Differential reinforcement is not non-contingent. Differential reinforcement is always contingent on something happening, some sort of response happening, or in this case, not happening. If we're using a DRO, the ultimate goal or the likely objective is to decrease the interrupting behavior. You're helping your supervisor conduct a functional analysis. During one of the conditions, the client is given a task demand. If the client engages in the target behavior, the task demand is removed. The task demand was removed several times during this condition. What function does this likely represent? Now, it seems like a difficult question on the surface because first, right, we're talking about functional analyses. And as an RBT, or behavior technician, you're going to be assisting sometimes in functional analyses. And all a functional analysis is a manipulation of antecedents and consequences to determine function. The ultimate goal of the functional analysis is to determine the function. It's the best way to determine the function. And when we're doing a functional analysis, we are intentionally providing the behavior what it wants. So in this case, the client's given a task demand, and if the client engages in the target behavior, the task demand is removed. In other words, we are checking to see, does this behavior occur for escape? And why would this check for escape? Well, because when you give a demand, if the target behavior happens and you remove the behavior, right, that's likely going to be for escape. And that's how a functional analysis works. If this instead, the client is said, if this said instead, excuse me, the client is given attention when the client engages in the target behavior, that would be the attention condition. But if the task demand is given and the task demand is removed if the client engages in the target behavior, and in this case, the task demand was removed several times, this means each time that task demand is given, the client engages in the target behavior to get out of that task demand. So what function does that represent or likely represent? Hey, a tangible. Well, we're not giving an item, right? We're giving a task demand. And tangible is all about items and things and giving something to the client. So B, escape, is much more likely. I give a task demand, you engage in a target behavior, I remove the task demand. You're trying to escape. C, attention. We went over the attention example. This is not attention, it's a task demand because we're checking for escape. And then D, automatic. Automatic, in other words, alone. Since this is socially mediated because there's another person involved, it's not going to be automatic. The function this likely represents is going to be B, escape. Thank you for watching. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials. When you pass your exam, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. We'll see you soon.